A very beautiful morning out there, and welcome to another edition of In the Papers on your darling station, iPower 102.7 FM, the pride of the people. This is a program where we bring to you major headlines making waves across national dailies, breaking down the stories that matter most to you, from politics to the economy to security and of course to human interest. We'll take a quick look at what is making the news today. My name is Florence Ibarema, and with me on the program is
Inioluwa Florence.
We have stories from various newspapers across Nigeria. We have stories from the Hope newspaper. We have stories from the Punch newspaper. We have stories from the Nations newspaper. We also have stories from
the Daily Post newspaper, the Punch newspaper, and also the Hope newspaper.
Yes, we'll go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll take the recap. We'll take the headlines for today's story. Glad to have you join us. You're still on to iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is In the Papers, your daily nugget for stories making major headlines in today's newspaper. We have this one coming to you from the Hope, and it says, police arrest 25 cultists during initiation in Ondo.
Still on the Hope newspaper, SDP PDP members join APC in Ondo as Gani Daudu pledges support for Aiyedatiwa.
Still taking headlines from the Hope, we have this one, and it says Iconium as Ondo governor turned 61 yesterday.
Still on the Hope newspaper, talking 2026 budget of a federal government, 33.39 trillion naira revenue projections goes to debt servicing.
Away from the Hope from my hand and straight to the Punch, where we have Sanwo-Olu pays tribute to fallen soldiers.
Still on the Punch newspaper, still talking 2026 budget twist. MDAs inject 3.5 trillion naira new projects despite federal government freeze.
Yes, taking headlines from the Punch, we have INEC faces legal heat over missing 55.9 billion naira 2019 election funds.
Still on the Punch newspaper, talking afternoon recap. Fubara returns and NPP disowns Concasso Hausa traders. Edo residents clash. Other top stories.
Away from the other story, and now to Osun State, where we have I have no competitor. APC candidate Oye Bamiji boasts.
Still on the Daily Post newspaper, Osun government suspends dealings with NYCN.
Yes, still taking headlines from the Punch, we have this one, and it says resident doctors suspend planned nationwide strike.
Still on the Daily Post newspaper, Malami case not personal. I inherited his investigation file, says EFCC chair.
Still taking headlines from the Punch, where we have federal government propose 41 billion naira to upgrade 109 foreign missions.
This on the Daily Post newspaper, talking impeachment. Fubara breaks silence, urges Rivers residents to stay calm.
Still taking headlines from the Punch, we have Bodija explosion victims demand 30 billion naira disbursement.
And now to the Nation newspaper, alleged armed discovery, Malami faces DSS probe.
Still taking headlines from the Punch, we have ruling house slams Kwam1 over protest letter to Abiodun.
So still on the Nation newspaper on my end, 150,000 just so for 774 National Health Fellow slots.
Taking a flight to the Nation's newspaper, where we have vulnerable families in community get a lifeline.
Still on the Nation newspaper, Nasarawa Senator Onawo dumps PDP.
Yeah, still taking headlines from the Nations, we have APC 6 more grassroots mobilization at summit.
And with that, we will take a short break. When we get back, we will give you more headlines and more recaps coming your way shortly. Yes, glad to have you back. The program Your Still Hunter is in the papers, coming to you from iPower 102.7 FM in Inioluwa. Beginning on my end, on the Old newspaper, SDP PDP members join APC in Ondo as Gani Daudu pledges support for Aiyedatiwa. And now to the details. No fewer than 100 of the opposition People's Democratic Party and the Social Democratic Party in Akoko have dumped their parties for the ruling All Progressive Congress in Ondo State. The defectors, who were mostly chieftains of their former parties, joined the APC at Oke Turulere Ward 7 in Iru Akoko North West local government area of the state. Receiving the defectors, the Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa urged the campees to remain loyal and faithful to the All Progressive Congress, while also calling for support for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, represented by a special advisor on legislative and party affairs, Honorable Kolawole Babatunde, who also represented by Dr. Kole Geshe. The governor said, "Our party has the fear of God, so let us shun what the opposition is saying. Our party is the leading party in Nigeria." Similarly, the Commissioner for Water Resources and Public Sanitation, Honorable Ayodele Akonde, represented by retired Honorable Makonjola Akintola, urged the new members to support the re-election of President Tinubu and to throw their weight behind the administration of Governor Aiyedatiwa. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Old newspaper with the headline, SDP PDP members join APC in Ondo as Gani Dauda pledges support for Aiyedatiwa.
Still taking stories from the Hope, we have Iconium as Ondo governor turned 61 yesterday. Now the details. Members of the Ondo State Executive Council have celebrated the governor of the state, Dr. Lucky Orimison Aiyedatiwa, on his 61st birthday, describing him as a visionary leader whose administration has continued to drive development, stability and innovation across the state. In a congratulatory message issued to mark the governor's birthday, the council praised Dr. Aiyedatiwa's unwavering commitment to good governance, infrastructure development, urban renewal, and security of lives and properties. The council noted that since assuming office, the governor's leadership has inspired renewed hope and progress, positioning Ondo State on the path of sustainable growth and prosperity. The message to the governor, dedication to public service and inclusive governance, has earned admiration within and beyond the state, while policies and programs have continued to positively impact communities across all sectors. The SEC further described Dr. Aiyedatiwa's life of service as a beacon of integrity and progress, expressing pride in being part of his administration and enduring legacy. The council also offered prayers for divine wisdom, strength and good health for the governor as he continues to lead the state. The statement added, "May this birthday mark a celebration of past triumph, present joy and future filled with continued success and fulfillment." The message was jointly signed by members of the Ondo State Executive Council, including the Deputy Governor Dr. Olayide Adelami, the Secretary to the State Government, SSG Dr. Taiwo Fashoranti, the Chief of Staff, CSOs to the Governor, Prince Olusegun Omojowa, the Head of Service, HOMs, the Mr. Bayo Philip, Commissioner of Special Advisors and Director General of the Performance and Project Implementation Monitoring Unit. For details of that story, see the Hope newspapers with this headline, Iconium as Ondo governor turned 61 yesterday.
Still on the Old newspaper, talking 2026 budget. For federal government, 33.39 trillion naira revenue project goes to debt servicing. And now to the details. The federal government 2026 fiscal outlook reveals a growing squeeze on public finance, with 15.91 trillion naira, almost half of projected revenues, set aside for debt servicing, out of an expected 33.39 trillion naira revenue envelope. The figures contain contained in the 2026 revenue framework submitted to the National Assembly, showing the service's existing debt will remain one of the government's largest single expenditure obligations in the coming year. A breakdown of the debt service allocation indicates that 10.16 trillion naira will be used to service domestic debts, reflecting the government's heavy reliance on internal borrowing instruments including federal government bonds, treasury bills, Sukuk saving bonds, and Central Bank of Nigerian ways and means advances. External debt servicing is projected at 5.36 trillion, raising concerns over foreign exchange exposure as repayments are largely denominated in hard currencies. On the revenue side, the federal government expects 20.20 trillion naira from net federation revenue, comprising 18.84 trillion naira from the federation account, 1.29 trillion naira from value added tax, and 63.85 billion from electric money transfer levy collections. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Open newspaper with the headline: for federal government's 33.39 trillion naira revenue projection goes to debt servicing.
Still taking headlines and stories from the Hope, where we have police arrest 25 quarters during initiation in Ondo. Now the details. The Ondo State Police Command has arrested 25 suspected quarters after foiling a planned initiation ceremony in the state. The command spokesperson, DSP Jimo Kazim, disclosed this in a statement made available to the Hope Metro on Sunday, stating that the arrest followed credible intelligence received from concerned citizens on Thursday, January 8, 2026. According to the statement, the information revealed the members of the New Black Movement Court Group were planning to initiate new members at Osho, or local government area of the state. Acting promptly to the tip-off, the police deployed operatives using intelligence-driven strategies to prevent the ceremony from taking place. DSP Gmo said the operation resulted in the arrest of 25 suspects drawn from Ondo, Osun, Lagos, and Edo State. He added that a Toyota Highlander sport utility vehicle and an unregistered day-long motorcycle were recovered from the suspects at the scene. The spokesman noted that the suspects are presently in the police custody and have confessed to their involvement in the court-related activities. He added that they would be charged to court at the conclusion of the investigation. Commending the operative for their swift response and professionalism, the State Commissioner of Police, Adebowale Lawal, said the command remains resolute in its fight against courtesan and other criminal activities. The police boss warned the youth against engaging in courtesan, stressing that such act offers no benefit but only leads to severe consequences. He also assured residents of the Ondo State Command's continued commitment to ensuring peace and security, while calling on members of the public to sustain the supply of credible and actionable intelligence to assist the police in curbing crimes across the state. For details of that story, see the Hope newspaper with this headline: Police arrest 25 quarters during initiation in Ondo State.
Yes, I take us right to the Punch newspaper that demands transparent use of 9.5 million recovered loot. And now to the details. The Human and Environmental Development Agenda has called on the federal government to ensure transparent, accountable, and verifiable utilization of the over $9.5 million recently recovered from the United Kingdom, describing the reparations as a major victory in the global fight against corruption and illicit financial flows. In a statement issued recently and signed by its chairman, Olarewaju Suraju, the civil society organization welcomed the decision of the UK through the Bailiwick of Jersey to return the funds to Nigeria, stressing that the development reinforced the principle that there should be no safe haven for proceeds of corruption. According to Ada, the signing of a memorandum of understanding between UK authorities and federal government for the reparations of the funds underscored the effectiveness of the sustained international cooperation in tackling illicit financial flows. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, Herabi demands transparent use of 9.5 recovered loot.
Also joining you on the Punch, where we have Sanwo-Olu pays tribute to fallen soldiers. Now the details. The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, on Sunday paid tribute to deceased members of the Nigerian Armed Forces, described their service as a sacred calling rooted in courage, discipline and sacrifice. The governor spoke at the 2025 Armed Force celebration and remembrance Thanksgiving service held at the Chapel of Christ, the Light, Alausa, Lagos, where he urged Nigerians to reflect on the unseen cost of peace and the responsibility of national unity. He said, and I quote, "Today we gather in the presence of God with hearts filled with gratitude, humility and remembrance," adding that the service is both a thanksgiving and a sacred pause, a moment of honor, a moment to honor courage, to remember sacrifice, and to acknowledge the unseen cost of peace. The governor, who was represented by the Secretary of the State Government, Abimbola Salu, noted that the freedom citizens enjoy daily are sustained by men and women who remain constantly guarded. Sanwo-Olu thanked God for preserving the nation and commending soldiers, sailors, airmen and officers who operate in difficult and dangerous conditions to keep the country safe. The governor also remembered fallen heroes who paid the ultimate price in line with their duty. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with its headline, Sanwo-Olu pays tribute to fallen soldiers.
And still on the Punch newspaper, Wike ends local government tours, Assembly alleges plot to stall Fubara's impeachment. And now to the details. Lawmakers of the Rivers State House of Assembly have alleged that they uncovered a plot by certain individuals linked to executive arm of the state government to obtain a court order preventing the legislature from performing its function. This comes as the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, ended his tour of the 23 local government areas of the state. A statement issued in Port Harcourt recently by the chairman of the House Committee on Information, Petitions and Complaints, Dr. Enemi George, said the alleged plot involved securing an ex parte order from the Rivers State High Court operating outside Port Harcourt, the state capital. Recently, the lawmakers, led by Speaker Martins Amewule, formally commenced impeachment proceedings against the state governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy Professor Ngozi Udu. The majority leader, Major Jack, presented the notice signed by 26 lawmakers outlining multiple allegations of gross misconduct against the governor. The allegation included extra budgetary spending of over 800 billion naira without legislative approval, withholding funds allocated to Assembly Service Commissions, demolitions of the Assembly complex, and defiance and Supreme Court rulings on legislative autonomy. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, Wike ends local government tours, Assembly alleges plot to stall Fubara's impeachment.
You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM, and the program is In the Papers, your daily nugget for stories making major headlines in today's newspaper. You can join us on our Facebook, our Instagram, our TikTok, and of course on X as iPower 1027 FM. iPower 1027 FM. On X is iPower 1027, iPower 1027. And of course, you can connect with us on our studio line to react and also add your contribution on the stories read so far today on 081655246999, 081655424699, or 0813274739, 081332747339. We're going to go on a short break. When we come back, we continue the rest of the stories for today. welcome back and glad to have you there. We're still on to iPower 102.7 FM and the program is In the Papers. We have the story coming to you from The Punch and it says INEC faces legal heat over missing 55.9 billion naira 2019 election fund. Now the details. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project has filed a lawsuit against the Independent National Electoral Commission over an alleged mismanagement of 55.9 billion naira intended to purchase smart card readers, ballot papers, result sheet and other election materials for the 2019 general elections. The allegation highlighted in the Auditor General's latest annual report published on September 9, 2025, accused INEC of failing to properly account for funds disbursed to contractors, with several payments alleged made without supporting documents or proper approval. In a suit number FHC/ABJ/CS/38/2026 filed last Friday at the Federal High Court in Abuja, SERAP is seeking a court order to compel INEC to disclose details of the missing funds, including the names of all contractors, their directors and shareholders, as well as how to recover the money. According to SERAP, the Commission's failure to uphold transparency and accountability undermines Nigerians' right to free and fair elections. The Auditor General report raises serious concern about multiple irregularities. Over 5.3 billion was reportedly paid to contractors for smart card readers without approval from the Bureau of Public Procurement or the Federal Executive Council, and without evidence of delivery. INEC claimed the procurement fell under the national security, a justification the Auditor General rejected. Payment exceeding 4.5 billion to 6 contractors for ballot papers and result sheet lacked documentation, including evidence of bid processes and contractors' eligibility. Adding questionable payments includes 331 million naira for various contracts, 41 billion for printing of election materials without due process, and 297 million for four Toyota Land Cruiser, far exceeding market price. The Commission also reportedly failed to retire over 630 million in cash advanced to officers and neglected to deduct over 2.1 billion in stamp duties from contractors. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: INEC faces legal heat over missing 55.9 billion naira 2019 election funds.
Still on the Punch newspaper, EFCC chair dismisses corruption claims, says I've never taken bribe. And now to the details. The chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Ola Olukoyede, has challenged Nigerians to publicly come forward with evidence if he has ever been involved in fraudulent activities, insisting that he has never been benefited from corruption throughout his years in public service. Olukoyede made the declaration during an interview with newsmen, where he dismissed claims linking him to fraud and illicit enrichment. He said, and I quote, "I'd like to tell Nigerians here, with every sense of responsibility all through my service in public sector as Chief of Staff in the FCC, as Secretary to the FCC, I make bold to say that I've never been involved in any fraudulent activity." The FCC chairman further stated, and I quote, "I've never been involved in any fraudulent activities. I serve as Chief of Staff, no Nigerian, and I challenge anybody to say, oh, this man has ever collected a bottle of Coke or 1 naira to influence my sense of judgment in carrying out responsibility." Addressing the concerns about assets management during his time as EFCC Secretary, Olukoyede said he handled seized assets without personal gain. He said, and I quote, "As a secretary, I have got to manage assets here and to dispose assets. I never, you can trace any asset to me, nor any member of my family as a matter of principle. And no Nigerian can say I collected 1 dime because of because of carrying my activities out. He questioned the basis of this allegation against him, adding, so the issue of fraudulent attachment, I don't know where that would have come from. And I've told you now, I have never benefited from any of these assets. Never. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, the FCT chair dismisses corruption claim, says, I've never taken bribe.
Still taking headlines from the Punch and talking Osun poll. We have this one that says, I have no competitor. APC candidate Oyebamiji boasts. Now the details. The All Progressive Congress governorship candidate in Osun State, Bola Oyebamiji, has declared that neither he nor his party has any real challenger ahead of the August 8, 2026 governorship election, describing the contest as a penalty kick already awarded in APC's favor. Oyebamiji made the remark on Sunday in Osogbo during an interactive session with party youth organized by the office of the Osun APC youth leader, where he urged young party members to intensify mobilization efforts across the state. According to him, a demographic analysis of the 2022 governorship election showed that youths accounted for about 210,000 of the over 300 votes recorded by the APC, underscoring their central role in determining the electoral outcome. Speaking in Yoruba, the APC candidate likened the forthcoming poll to a penalty kick taken against a team without a goalkeeper, dismissing the chance of incumbent Governor Ademola Adeleke. Oyebamiji further charged party youth to return to their words and commence door-to-door mobilization, insisting that APC face no opposition. He also assured party supporters of their safety during the campaign, saying the forthcoming election would not be characterized by violence. Earlier, the Osun State APC youth leader, Goke Akinwemimo, appealed to party members, particularly youth, who supported different aspirants during the party's primary, to put aside grievances and work collectively for victory. He said, and I quote, "We must remain united, focused, and even more resilient than ever. The struggle concerns our future, our destiny, and our prosperity in Osun State. Conflict is inevitable in politics, but how we manage it will determine our success." For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline, "I have no competitor. APC candidate Oyebamiji boasts."
Still on the Punch newspaper, only Tinubu can sack me, no critics, Wike declares. And now to the details. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has insisted that political powers is earned through strength and strategic action, warning that Obio Akpo local government area remains a decisive force in River State politics. Wike also dismissed calls for his removal, stressing that the power to sack him lies solely with the president. Wike spoke recently during a thank you visit to Obio Akpo, where he addressed party leaders, traditional rulers, and women and youths. Recent reports state that the minister has been touring the state 23 local government areas to appreciate residents for their support in the 2023 election and to canvass continuing backing for President Bola Tinubu ahead of the 2027 polls. Addressing the gathering, Wike stressed that politics should be guided by interest, not sentiment. He said, and I quote, "There's no sentiment, there's no emotion. Politics is an interest, the interest of your people. Power is not given, we struggle for it. After all, if Donald Trump did not have power, how would he go to Venezuela to pick a president? He wouldn't, because he has power. That is why he can act. So for the people of Obio Akpo, we have the power to dictate who becomes the governor." All these people commenting from the sidelines, asking them if the local government, which produced only 5,000 votes, can challenge one that produced 40% of the votes. Let us see how it will work. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline, "Only Tinubu can sack me, not critics," Wike declares.
Still taking stories from the Punch, where we have resident doctors suspend planned nationwide strike. Now the details. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has suspended its planned nationwide strike following the intervention of the Vice President Kassim Shettima. NAD President Dr. Mohammed Suleiman, in an interview with The Punch on Sunday, said the decision to suspend the strike was reached after a meeting of the association's National Executive Council. He said the Vice President requested more time to address the issue raised by the doctors, and the NEC agreed to grant the request. NAD had on January 3rd announced plans to resume a total, indefinite and complete strike known as TIC 2.0 from January 12. The association said the actions was due to the federal government's failure to implement agreements reached with the resident doctors, including those contained in a memorandum of understanding. The decision to embark on the strike was taken at an emergency nationwide executive council meeting held on January 2. However, the National Industrial Court of Nigeria, Abuja, on Friday issued an order restraining NAD and its members from proceeding with the strike. Justice Emmanuel Sublim granted the order following a motion ex parte filed by the federal government and the Attorney General of the Federation, Lateef Fagbami San. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Resident doctors suspend planned nationwide strike.
Still on the Punch newspaper, MBA seeks justice in alleged forced conversion of Muslim girl. And now to the details. The Nigerian Bar Association Dese branch has demanded urgent justice in the case of a DSS officer, Ifeanyi Onyewuenyi, accused of abducting, raping and forcing a 16-year-old girl, Ms. Walida Abdullahi, to convert to Christianity and marry him. Recent reports learned that the controversy surrounding the alleged abduction, rape and forced conversion of Walida by DSS officer Onyewuenyi has been brewing for over 2 years, with the victim family declaring her missing and conducting searches since she was 16. The recent revelation of her whereabouts and alleged crime committed against her has sparked widespread outrage, prompting the NBA Duterte branch to demand urgent justice and accountability. At the moment, the case took a significant turn with the issuance of court orders on January 7, 2026, describing the authorities to arrest and investigate Onyewuenyi, and the NBA is now pushing for full compliance with the order as the investigation unfolds. In a statement signed by Publicity Secretary A.B. Omar recently, the NBA Duse branch expressed shock and disbelief at the allegation against Onyewuenyi, saying the action represented an appalling level of barbarism and crass display of impunity. According to the statement, Ms. Abdullahi went missing at 16, and despite her parents' efforts to locate her, her whereabouts remained unknown for 2 years, leading to her mother's death due to trauma. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline: MBA seeks justice in alleged forced conversion of Muslim girl.
Still taking stories from the Punch, we have this one that says Bodija explosion victims demand 30 billion naira disbursement. Now the details. Following the Oyo State recent disclosure that 30 billion naira released by the federal government as part of an intervention fund for the January 16, 2024 Bodija explosion in Ibadan remains largely untouched. Affected victims have demanded fairer and increased compensation. The victim also urged the government to ensure that the 30 billion naira fund is made available to all affected persons without exclusion, disparity and bureaucratic bottlenecks. It would be recalled that the state government, following an alarm raised by the former Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayoshe over the federal government's intervention fund to the state, disclosed that the federal government had yet to release the outstanding 20 billion naira balance from the 50 billion approved to support the reconstruction of Old Bodija and its environ. Before the 30 billion naira disclosure, the Oyo State had disbursed 4.085 billion naira as support and compensation to victims of the explosion, during adding that it spent 24.6 billion naira from its own resources on Bodija and its environment following the disaster. In a statement then issued by the State Commissioner for Information, Dotun Oyelade, the government said the 30 billion naira already released remains untouched in the state government infrastructural support account, with account number domiciled with First Bank. But speaking with Punch on Sunday, one of the victims, Mohammed Danasi, who resides at number 6 Aderiola Street, Old Bodija Ibadan, expressed dissatisfaction with the support fund allocation, describing the disbursement as unfair. Then a CEO, whose residence is next to the explosion at 8 Aderiola Street, called for redress following the disclosure of a 30 billion fund, stating that the E suffered 100% loss but received only 1.4 million naira. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Bodija explosion victims demand 30 billion naira disbursement.
Still on the Punch newspaper, talking Edo protest, Okpebolo condemns attack on Monarch's Palace. And now to the details. Edo State Governor Senator Monday Okpebolo has condemned the attack on the palace of the Onoje of Ekpoma, Zaiki Anthony Abumere II by protesters. A peaceful protest by people of Ekpoma over insecurity and incessant kidnapping recently was hijacked by hoodlums who unleashed violence on the community. They chased away traders at livestock market, killed goats, beat cows, and attacked and destroyed parts of the Onoje's palace. The protest also resulted into blockage of the major highway and grounding of commercial activities. However, today the governor, in a statement by his chief press secretary Patrick Ibojele, condemned the attack when he visited the palace to ascertain the level of destruction allegedly caused by protesters. He said there was no justification for invading a traditional institution under the guise of expressing grievances over insecurity. Governor Okpebolo was accompanied by the top government officials, the Edo State Commissioner of Police, the leader of the All Progressive Congress, including the Edo Central Senatorial leader, General Cecile Esekaibe, retired, and other party stakeholders. During the visit, the governor was taken around the palace and shown several destroyed during the invasion. Vehicles with the palace compound were vandalized, while canopies and chairs were broken. Cartons of noodles belonging to Onoje's wife, who traded in products, were also destroyed. Doors and windows of the palace was damaged. The governor described the invasion of the palace and the looting of properties as criminal and unacceptable, stressing that protest must never be used as an excuse for lawlessness. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline: Okpebolo condemns attack on Monarch's Palace.
Taking stories from the Punch, where we have ruling house slams Kwam 1 over protest letter to Abiodun. Now the details. The Fusembua ruling house of Ijebuland on Sunday lashed out at the popular Fuji musician Alhaji Wasiu Ainde, known as Kwam 1, over his protest letter to Ogun State Governor Dapo Abiodun, in which he alleged that he was deliberately excluded from the ongoing selection process of the next Awujale of Ijebuland. In his protest letter dated January 8, 2026, written by his lawyer Dr. Wahab Shito San, Kwam 1 explained that the Fasanguya ruling house next in line to produce a new Awujale, as issued directives that were unknown to the chieftain declaration and the Obas and Chiefs law of the Ogun State. He claimed these directives were aimed at disenfranchising him from contesting for the throne. But responding to the development, the vice chairman of the Fasembua ruling house, Professor Fasi Yusuf, dismissed the protest letter as arrant nonsense with no bearing on the selection process. Speaking on the telephone on the telephone on Sunday, Yusuf said it is a misguided letter. Either Wahab Shitu is being misled or Wasiu Ainde is being misled. It is arrant nonsense. The letter was directed to the government, so they will respond appropriately. The issue being raised about the screening is illogical. We have over 20,000 members in the ruling house. How does he expect us to manage the crowd? What is being talked about is illogical. He added that the family had fixed Monday for the nomination meeting of aspirants for the vacant stool. The selection process for the new Awijali, which has reportedly attracted over 60 aspirants, has generated widespread interest, with Ainde openly declaring his interest in the stool. For details of that story, see the Punch newspaper with this headline: Ruling House slams Kwam 1 over protest letter to Abiodun.
Still on the Punch newspaper, Atiku demands release of detained critic. And now to the details. Former presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has called on the federal government to immediately release a known critic of Bola Tinubu's administration, Abubakar Salim Musa, also known as AM Salim on X. According to a post shared on his verified X handle today, Atiku condemned what he described as a growing pattern of repression under Tinubu's administration. The former vice president stated this following a post on X by Amnesty International Nigeria, which disclosed that Musa was arbitrarily arrested on the evening of January 11, 2026. The post read, and I quote, Abubakar Salim Musa has been reminded at the Kefi prison ahead of plans to put him through the sham trial based on bogus charges. What Salim is going through shows that the right of young Nigerians to freedom of expression in Nigeria is increasingly threatened. A lot of young Nigerians have come under attacks ranging from threats to arrest, illegal detention and harassment, or for simply expressing their opinions online. Salim did not commit any crime, and harassment he's facing is clearly aimed at silencing him. It is perfectly within his right to criticize any government official, no matter his position or status. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Punch newspaper with the headline: Atiku demands release of detained critic.
Away from the Punch and now to the Nations, where we have vulnerable families and community get a lifeline. Now the details. Everlasting Fountain Welfare Initiative has given relief to vulnerable households in Magboro community in Ogun State, reaching 120 elderly and low-income families with food support. Beneficiary received food packs containing 3 kg of gari, 2.5 kg of rice, Mamdor vegetable oil, Indomie instant noodles, and seasoning. The distribution was orderly and community focused, with volunteers attending the beneficiaries, especially the elderly, with care and dignity. Founder Abiola Adeniyi described the outreach as a response to the reality of many Nigerians continue to face. Adeni added that the program also marked activities marking their second anniversary, noting that they have impacted 3,000 since inspection. She noted while Magoro covered 120 homes, the body planned to scale up. Our work extends to Ogun State and Lagos State, and we will reach more communities with more money. Women representative of Magoro Area Community Development Committee, Mrs. Abdul Folashade, praised the organization for its consistency and community impact. One of the beneficiaries, Mrs. Taye Sekinat, expressed gratitude for the assistance, noting that the food items would provide immediate relief for a household. For details of that story, see the Nation's newspaper with this headline: Vulnerable families and community gets a lifeline.
On the Daily Post newspaper, Malami case not personal. I inherited his investigation file. And now to the details. Chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ola Olukoyede, has said that the case of the former Attorney General of the Federation, AGF Abubakar Malami, is not personal. Malukide made this declaration known when he appeared as a guest on an interview on Sunday Politics, a program on Channels Television. He said Malami's investigation predated him in office, adding that he inherited the AGF investigation file. I am yet to understand and see the fact he would bring out to back that claim of he actually said that. All I did was ensure the investigation was carried out in a professional and thorough manner. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, Malami case not personal, I inherited his investigation file.
You're still listening to us from iPower 102.7 FM. To reach us with your feedback and contributions regarding the stories read so far, reach us on our studio line is 0816-552-4699, 0816-552-4699, or 0813-274-7339. Also, reach us on our social media handles, Facebook as iPower 1027 FM, on Instagram as iPower 1027 FM, on TikTok iPower 1027 FM, and of course on X, formerly Twitter, iPower 1027. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we continue the rest of the stories. Glad to have you join us. You're still on to iPower 1027 FM, and of course the program is In the Papers, your daily nugget for story making major headlines in today's newspaper. Still taking stories from the nations, where we have APC's 6 more grassroots mobilization at Summit. Now the details. Deputy Majority Leader of Lagos State House of Assembly, Adedamola Kashomo, has called on leaders of the All Progressive Congress in Ikeja Constituency 2 and Ojodu Local Government CDA to intensify grassroots mobilization and embrace the party's electronic registration. Adedamola spoke at the appraisal and sensitization in Ojodu and Ikeja to motivate ward and council executive processes. It aimed to strengthen party structure at ward community levels and sensitize more on APC e-registration process. Adedamola described the meeting as a strategic one. He noted that the gathering marked the beginning of an engagement process to strengthen APC structure in Ikeja Constituency 2 and Ojodu LCDA. He lauded federal lawmakers Abiodun Faleke for his support. Present are party leaders in Ojodu and Ikeja Constituency 2, Chairman of the APC Ojodu LCDA, Stella Kokumo, Councillor, Ward Executive Chairman of the APC Ikeja, Adekunle Deli Adeokun, and others. Adedamola said the e-registration is open to all, saying it is a digitalized membership, eliminates duplication, and strengthening internal democracy. For details of that story, see that Nation's newspaper with this headline, APC's 6 more grassroots mobilization at Summit.
Still on the Daily Post newspaper, talking impeachment, Fubara breaks silence, urges Rivers residents to stay calm. And now to the details. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has urged residents of the state to stay calm as the State House of Assembly proceeds with moves to impeach him. The governor made this appeal recently during a church service in Port Harcourt held to commemorate the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. He reassured the congregation that the situation would be resolved. Governor Fubara explained that his silence amid the unfolding development was intentional, stating that his confidence and resilience are rooted in his faith in God. Referring to comments he made during the New Year banquet at the Government House, the governor remarked that dogs bark when they do not understand. In her address to the Deputy Governor of the state, Professor Ngozi Udu, who also addressed the worshippers, encouraged the public to conduct themselves responsibly, echoing the message of the Dean of Anglican Communion, Archbishop Blessing Enyinda, who had emphasized in his sermon that every action would one day be remembered. If that story aligns with your interest, it is on the Daily Post newspaper with the headline, Fubara breaks silence, urges Rivers residents to stay calm.
Still taking stories from the nations where we have federal government and ASU to sign agreement to strengthening varsity system. Now the details. The federal government has indicated that it has reached an agreement with the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, aimed at strengthening industrial harmony and improving teaching and learning conditions across the nation's university. The government said the agreement is also expected to support sustainable development within the Nigerian university system. Both parties are scheduled to sign the pact on Wednesday in Abuja. According to a statement issued by Inioluwa Florence, Director of Press and Public Relations at the Federal Ministry of Education, the signing ceremony will be chaired by the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, alongside the Minister of the State for Education, Professor. The statement noted that the event marked the significant step in the government's ongoing effort to establish a stable, productive, and globally competitive higher education sector. The government reiterated its dedication to sustaining reforms that will strengthen the university system and ensuring the delivery of quality, accessible, and globally relevant education for the Nigerians. For details of that story, see the Nation's newspaper with this headline, Federal Government and ASU to sign agreement to strengthening varsity system.
The program you're still on to is in the papers, coming to you from iPower 102.7 FM. For comments and contributions, you can reach out to us on 0816 552 4699. You can reach out to us on 08132 747339. Right about now, we will take a short break. When we get back, we'll give you the recap of the headlines read out to you.
Welcome back, and of course now we take you through the recaps of the major headlines read to you this morning. We have this one coming to you. We informed you that from the hope that police arrest 25 cultists during initiation in Ondo.
Still on the Old newspaper, when we informed you that SDP and PDP members have joined APC in Ondo as Gani Dauda has pledged support to Ayedatiwa.
We also informed you from the hope that Iconium as Ondo State Governor turned 61 on Sunday.
We informed you, still on the Old newspaper, that half of the federal government 33.39 trillion naira revenue projection goes to debt servicing.
We also informed you from the Punch that Sanwo-Olu pays tribute to fallen soldiers.
Still on the Punch newspaper, still talking 2026 budget twist, we told you that the MDAs have injected 3.5 trillion naira new projects despite federal government's freeze.
We also informed you from the Punch that INEC faces legal hit over missing 55.9 billion naira 2019 election funds.
Still on the Punch newspaper, we informed you that EDA has demanded transparency among the use of 9.5 million recovered loot.
From the Punch, we informed you that I have no competitor, APC candidate Oye Bamiji boasts.
On the Daily Post newspaper, we informed you that Malami case not personal. I inherited his investigation file, says EFCC chair.
Lastly, we informed you from the Punch that resident doctors suspend planned nationwide strike.
And with that, we'll come to a wrap on today's edition of In the Papers, coming to you from iPower 102.7 FM. We hope this review has kept you informed of what is making news today. I am Inioluwa Adekoya.
And I am Florence E. Barama. Please stay tuned to iPower as we have lots of programs outlined for your listening pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning.